Kosamayo.
Works up right now.
Work's
We're like,
working.
work is working. We're on the last the last bit of this big project, and it's getting a little ridiculous. We're delivering like
Okay.
five videos or something by Friday, and we're on like draft three of them. It's just a mess. But we're making it happen. It's
Okay,
fine.
good. That's all that matters then.
Yeah. How are you, man?
Good. It's weird because I saw you in the Telegram video with your button up on, and I was like, "Uh-oh, work must be working."
Yeah, I've been trying to present myself a certain way or whatever with
Yeah.
work, just because of all the, like trying to. I mean, when I'm having meetings with like people who are like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
That's the thing about working from home. Like it's like super easy to just like actually forget that that's reasonable, or
Yeah.
that's the thing to do. And my dad reminded me of it the other day. He's like, yeah, I saw your video that you posted on LinkedIn. It was really good. And my first thought was like, oh, good, he's not wearing a hat. I was like, all right, fair enough.
Fair enough.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
But how's life for you? How's it been this
Good,
past week?
man. Everything is good. Today was pretty chill. So like no real concerns. Work was good. So
Yeah.
nothing to write home about. I always say that it's always a busy day, but not a hard day. I want to
Okay.
make that
Yeah.
distinction between the two, because a hard day and a busy day is different. Busy day can be like just exhausting, both mentally and physically. But a
Yeah.
hard day can be just like beat the crap. It's like you've been doing 10 rounds with a heavyweight boxer, like you're just
Yeah, you're
all
right.
your capacities are done.
You're right. There's definitely a distinction there. I've been hearing people say busy is good recently. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree to a certain extent. I mean, busy is always good if it is a direction that you want your energy to flow. Like, so
Yeah.
that would be my caveat. Like, if you're busy
Yeah.
doing some stuff that you don't want to do, it cannot not be great.
Yeah, man. That was my thought. I was like, well, I
Yeah.
mean, that's totally subjective, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been
100%.
busy in jobs and just been like,
This sucks.
this is annoying.
Right.
But I get
Yeah.
it. I guess a lot of people, I think the people who said that, like on work calls or whatever, it's more about like, I don't know, maybe there's like a certain gratitude there or something. Like, I'm glad that I
Yeah.
have a job, or I'm glad that I've got some purpose that I'm fulfilling, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Gratitude is an interesting word when you use it in that context, though. I think,
Mm,
I mean, it's subjective, like you said before. Like,
yeah.
gratitude for something that you tolerate and put up with is different from something that you want. Like, at this
Yeah.
point, I want gratitude for something that I've worked towards and achieved, and actually
Huh?
that I celebrate and I get joy out of. That's the type of gratitude I want. Is that
Yeah.
is that selfish of me to want
I mean,
something? You
no,
know?
no. I don't think so. I mean, I'm there, dude. Like, I
Yeah.
think it's so easy to
Yeah.
be in different states of gratitude, if you will.
Mhm.
Like like you can be grateful that you built up your career to where you're at, or your work, like at your job or whatever, however you're positioned there. There's always ways. There's always the silver lining or whatever.
Yeah.
However, I do think this is kind of my qualm with this idea of
Okay.
busy is good, is that ultimately busy is good is kind of like saying comfort is what I want, and that's it. And like, I'm fine with being busy because I'm comfortable. But
Right.
like the true deep gratitude that I've experienced when I'm like, oh, I'm like in my moment right now, uh, that's way different. And I think it's like degrees of difference. But the overarching like energy of gratitude, I think, from what I understand and what I see and what we've talked about, is like being in that state of mind where you're consciously aware of the situation, and whether it's good or bad, you can do this thing where you shift it in the moment, and the gratitude is more general. But
Agree.
I don't know.
I agree.
It just, yeah.
Conceptually, it's essentially like the way you interpret it. So
Mm,
again, like, it just depends on what you want out of life. That's the thing that you're gonna work the most towards. And like I said, unfortunately, I do think we get complacent a lot of times in these environments because things are going good. Like you're making enough money to survive. I mean, it's not great, you know, but
Mm.
it is what it is. It's like it's a thing that I know I can count on every day and that I don't have to worry about. So is that like in turn complacency? I guess. Do you know what I
I
mean?
I don't know, man. This is the weird balancing act or whatever. I mean, like, I think it changes depending on the moment.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to say one way or the other, either answer to that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you're happy and grateful that you have any money coming into your life, no matter whether it's for your passion
Hmm.
or your purpose or just to pay the bills,
Yeah.
um, that's cool. But I do think there's something lacking there, and I think this feels like a strange spot
Right.
because again, because of how our culture operates. Like it's like driven into our brains that we're supposed to be in a place where like we're making money and we
Hmm.
can do these things and like it's really important that you do that because that's how you survive and all this.
Yeah.
But there's like it leaves out of the equation often. Like, what are you passionate about? Like,
Yeah.
what is your intrinsic self-guided purpose in your life? That's just not a
Right.
part of that equation very often. It's like
Yeah.
if it is, it's like way down on the. It's like way lower than like the necessities.
Yeah.
And man, I've been somebody who has definitely been angsty about what I'm doing, even though I'm making a bunch of money. Like
Of course.
that's been my career a lot of the time is, this is cool. I'm making money, like living in New York or whatever. And all the while, I don't feel like I'm doing what I need to be doing or what I want, like
Okay.
truly to be doing. And I think that tension totally makes sense. And I think it is possible to be grateful for the tension itself because
Okay.
like I don't know. I got a haircut the other day. I was talking to the barber and we got into this and we were talking about uh this idea of like alchemy, like
Okay.
transmutation where you take this like bad thing and you convert it. You turn it into something good by looking at it differently. And
Okay.
and then you can take that transmutation, that energy that you're putting towards this thing maybe you're not so happy about, and then
Yeah.
utilize that to continue moving forward
Okay. That makes
it,
sense.
towards the greater good that I think we're all kind of shooting for. You
Yeah.
know?
Definitely. I mean, you know me, I'm constantly trying to, channel my better self and my better being. Like
Yeah.
if for competition, it has never been like with someone else. It's always been internally for me. It's like who am I competing against? The
Mm.
person that I have to look in the mirror at when I go before I go to sleep, and then the one that I wake up and I still have to
Mm.
see like that person is kind of a dick. Like
Wait,
but because
which one's the dick?
whichever one you want to pick, it's two of us, it's three of us in this whole thing. It's like morning Mike, all time Mike, and like nighttime Mike. Or it's like three different people, but
Mhm.
it's just a reflection of me and my thoughts at each different point throughout the day. And
Mm.
it's the same questions constantly asking myself, like, how do I change to be a better person? What do
Mm.
those steps look like in order for me to achieve the ultimate in happiness, whatever
Mm.
shape or form that looks like, right? So because
Yeah.
of that, I told you I've been delving a lot more into like Joe Dispenza's stuff. So
Oh,
now
yeah.
I'm reading this book. It's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's like how to break down the individual you are in order to build yourself back up, or maybe to create the thing that you need to be in order to get the thing that you want most out of life.
Mm.
So a lot of us, like, it's so fascinating, the technology and stuff that goes into this, like science, and then the study of the mind, and like these experiments that they do about like the regular stuff that we typically do to ourselves at least once a week, and it's like drink beer, or alcohol, and how that can be like poison to your brain and cause your brain to be like unhealthy,
Mhm.
um even so to the point where like you know uh it could cause you to forget stuff, like memory loss and stuff can all come from like you not taking care of your brain. That really makes sense if the
Yeah.
study is about the blood flow to your brain, and then you're using stuff that's like in kind of inhibitors. I mean, are you destroying the thing that you're trying to create? So it's counterproductive almost.
Yeah, yeah, it begs the question of, like, why are these things even, like, accessible?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
why did that ever happen that we had access to, like, basically poison for our bodies that, like, feels
Pretty
good, I
much.
guess?
Yeah.
But anyway, so is it, like, you gotta, like how do you go about, like, cutting those things down? Like, what have you, like, pulled from that book, like,
So it's
so
it's
far?
more or less like the basis of understanding how what we do affects our mental state. So the
Mm,
brain, we rarely ever think about it as, it's said some, I guess, maybe more or less, if you're looking for those types of things, that it is a muscle that you do have to utilize it, you have to exercise it, and then you also want to protect it. So it's threefold. So if you're looking at how to create a longer life for yourself, typically most people would go towards the body, right? Because that's the easiest thing. Like it's kind of the easy. Jump your ass on the treadmill, run a couple miles, do some
yeah,
push-ups, eat better,
yeah,
but ultimately all the things that we put into our body impact the way we feel and the health, more towards the life that we end up living. What we
mhm,
don't think about is that the information we digest as well also impacts our lives and how we live those lives, and then how that
yeah,
comes when we're older. So it's super interesting, Mike, but it's just about making those small, like, initial changes in order
mm.
to kind of start the process of recreating yourself in your mind.
That's super interesting to me because, of, like, what I've been sharing with you about how I'm
Yeah.
trying to kind of shift where how I show up or, like, shift, my activities,
Yeah.
it like, I sat in this, like, workshop or webinar thing a couple like, last week, and the guy that was running it basically was talking about stuff like this. He was like talking about how artists can present themselves better to their audiences, and that like when you're trying to sell yourself or your art in this case, like on the internet, it's
Hmm.
not about like your art, like it's about who you are. It's about like you, the people who are going to engage with you and connect with you, that you ultimately want to engage and connect. It's going
Okay.
to be about your personhood, like who you are and
Yes.
how you're presenting. So anyway, it was like it was really nice because it like kind of narrowed down this thought process for me where I'm like, it seems like there's so many activities to choose though. Like if I'm
Hmm.
going to change myself, and that's been a thing that it's been a theme in my life for so long. Like
Yeah.
at a certain point, if I want to take a new pathway, like I'm looking at like some of my changes, like I gotta cross a gap here, and there's gonna
Hmm.
be a bridge somewhere. There's like it feels like there's 12 different bridges. There's like different activities that I could take to try and make it happen. I'm like,
Yeah.
how do you choose? But really what's helpful is that small piece, like taking each
Hmm.
thing, taking small, consistent actions and just
Yeah.
letting that be the thing when you're
Right.
trying to figure out how to like grow and develop into
Yeah.
who you want to be.
And also some things just make sense. Like
Yeah.
if there's something foreign that you're putting in your body, and you're over absorbing that
Hmm.
whatever it is, then you probably know it's not going to be good for you. Can drink too much water. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
if I can do some of one of the things that they say is the healthiest thing for us to do, then you have to kind of self-regulate from there. But
Hmm.
also, water is something that's naturally in our body. We consist of water. I mean, we're mostly water.
Hmm.
So if you think about it in that sense, then the stuff that you do consume, you need to think about it in the same way. Like I don't usually have poison. Like it's not a great idea that I binge.
Yeah.
Beer here and there is good, I'm sure, but ultimately,
Yeah.
I don't want to down a gallon of poison. It's not a good
No,
look for you
thanks.
in any capacity. But
Yeah.
also, one of the things that he talks about, and I think is really crucial to us on our journeys, but trying to get the thing that we want, is that he believes that people can change their lives by engaging in regular brain health activities. And guess what? A couple of them are
Mm,
meditation, right?
okay.
Okay. And then also just like boosting your blood flow. So anything that involves like health and fitness and wellness, essentially. But meditation was like the easiest way for you to start. If you learn how to control your mind in a quiet state where you are not supposed to be in activation mode,
Mhm.
then ultimately you should be able to do like get huge benefits from that, like memory gain instead of memory loss, like uh
Yeah.
basically reverse the impact of what
Mm.
we're consistently prone to each and every day, which is multiple activities on 17 different platforms.
Yeah, yeah, that makes total sense. I
Yeah,
think it's totally aligned with, like, my own experience, and what's interesting is I think that is connected to something I was thinking about with this, which was, like, what if you don't have the literacy, like, your own body? Like, what if you don't understand what's good for your body to the point where you're like, I don't know how much to run, or I don't actually know how this food is affecting me, or I don't know how much alcohol is too much. Like,
yeah,
I think like the meditation thing is also a link to that as well. I do tend to believe that we we do have the operating manual like for ourselves
yeah,
internally, and like if we're
right.
able to find that space where we're able to like shut it down to a degree and then
Okay,
listen,
yeah,
it seems like even those things, like you can get some clarity about that.
yeah,
You can like sort of ascertain like, okay, well, I'm so confused. I feel like crap. I don't know why do I feel so crappy. And
right,
I just let me just sit down and not think. Like let's practice a mindfulness thing, just zone out, and then suddenly it'll just be like you ate half the cookies in that thing, like in that bowl on the counter, dude. You ate like that, and then earlier in the day you ate a Pop Tart, and then before that you ate like waffles with honey on them. And like, oh, it was too much sugar. Got it. Okay, I'll go try something different. Um,
yeah.
but dude, it also works like this definitely didn't happen to me, by the way. That was totally random
It
example.
happens to me.
That was sarcastic. I like yeah, actually today I was thinking about this in a different context. Like
Okay.
this morning, I really wanted to like one of the activities that I'm doing is like consistently sharing my thoughts and ideas where
Mhm.
where the conversations are happening. So like
Okay.
social media, basically like LinkedIn, and then posting pretty regularly on TikTok.
Mhm.
Um, again, not to like become an influencer or anything like that, but to contribute and
Yeah.
to like make connections with people. It does not have to
Yes.
be like not to blow up, just to like show up basically.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so this morning I was thinking about it, I was like, all right, what do I want to focus on today? But rather than trying to rationalize it and write down a list and determine this is what I turned to meditation for. Like I sat
Okay.
down and I was like, I'm gonna be chill and I'm just gonna like let this come to me,
Okay.
basically. And it did. It was like I was like, oh, I remember like a thought occurred to me. I was like, I remember somebody saying, I saw this cool video. This guy was like, the thing that you do automatically
Mhm.
is hard for someone else. So whatever
Mm.
that thing is that you do automatically, talk about
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
And I
wow.
was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
cool." Like at the time I was thinking, "Oh, okay, video editing. I've done that for so long that I could probably teach a class in it and I could just easily share
That's
some
really
tips."
interesting.
And that was an example, and I wasn't as interested in doing that because I'm not really trying to connect in that space.
That way.
However, this
Yeah.
morning that came back to me, like something that I consumed before, it came back, and
Mhm.
that same thought occurred, except it was more general. It was like, how do I come up with ideas? Like, I mean, ideas just it's like I told Stella
It just flow.
earlier today, it's like I turn the shower on, and that's how it works in my brain. And then eventually you run out of hot water, but there's still
Yeah.
water. You're still gonna get water. It's just not very good.
Absolutely.
And it's gonna keep
Yeah.
going until you decide to turn it off. So
Yeah.
I was thinking like, okay, cool, ideas. Like maybe I share something about that. And then almost like immediately I had like, this is the process of how my ideas occurred to me. And I wrote them down. Like I opened my eyes, wrote them down. I was like, oh, sick. This is cool. I'll just like talk about this. So all of that to say, dude, I didn't have a clear answer about how I wanted to approach some new action,
Right.
some new activity. And by sitting down and just meditating, if
That's
not
how it
for like
happens.
5 minutes, no kidding. Like 5 minutes, I
Yep.
was like, okay, sick, I'm good. And then
Yeah.
like I wrote it down and we are good to go.
It's absolutely insane. That thing that you said about capturing the thing that like is most present in your mind, because you, like you said, what you have is special and unique. We're all like this. It reminds me of a podcast I listened to recently. I think it was Radio Lab, where this guy could hear up to four different full on symphonies in his head at one time.
Whoa.
And then like he could play them like he could hear the instruments, the individual instruments from one symphony all in his head at one time.
Holy shit.
And so they totally called bluff on this one, and they were like, "We got to test this theory." They put him in a room, turned off the lights, put his headphones on, had him start a symphony, played it in another room where he couldn't see it, and then ultimately played 3 more after that and told him to stop the first one and then hum out loud where he was in the symphony. He was like less than a second off. How is this possible?
his brain
How is
was
it possible?
his brain was like running these processes like just
Yes.
like under the hood essentially all at
Yes.
once.
Yes, and not only that, he could, like, go to each symphony. Dude, have you ever put on more than one like Bach or Beethoven? Have you ever
No,
done that? You have
no,
to
dude.
do this.
Like at
It
the
is
same time?
it is chaos and like,
I was gonna
destruction.
say, it's complete chaos. It's like random noise. It's like probably
Yes,
akin to that. Like, how could you
and
find any like through line, let alone 4
yes.
through lines? That's
To me, I
wow.
mean, like, this is the world's best torture device because 'cause I'd go nuts in, like, record time. There's no way.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
But you're
they if you heard about this in some cities, they play classical music outside of buildings to literally deter people. That's just
yes,
one song or
yes.
symphony. They literally play these things to deter people. So you're telling me
I've
that
heard
some
that.
guy had 4 of them, 4
Or
different symphonic
yes,
pieces playing all at once in
yes,
his brain.
yes.
And he wasn't crazy. He wasn't like
No, he
totally crazy.
totally described it, talked about it, like,
Wow.
gave the different instruments the strings, said he had this thing where he could, like, fly over the orchestras and, like, hover over a specific part of it, like the strings or the
Dude.
horns, and then hear those instruments louder once he was over, while still maintaining the other orchestras.
Dude,
And
that's crazy, man.
so
You said Radiolab did put
Radio
this out?
Labs.
Shout out
Yes, so it
Radiolab.
goes
Jeez.
right back to the point of we are all special and unique in certain and specific ways.
Mm,
What we do, like our and even with our thought process, Mike, which is unique to each and every one of us, we all have like random stream of thoughts. Now, some of them may be the same as another person, but maybe
yeah,
not in the same order. That's what's unique about us at different times.
yeah,
But you're
yeah.
right. You should be capturing the thing that is most normal to you. Do you
Yes,
know what I
okay,
mean?
dude, okay, so I'm glad we're talking about the special
Yeah.
idea because,
Yeah.
my friend Jason, I think you know Jason.
Mhm.
He he and I have had this conversation in the
What's
past. He
up,
actually
Jason?
I don't know, but yeah, if he's hearing it, what's up, Jason? He and I had a conversation in the past, and it came back around the other day. He sent me some clip, and the
Okay.
clip was very interesting. It was this guy Sadhguru. Do you know who that is?
Yeah,
Yeah,
come on. I
Sadhguru.
follow that. He's awesome.
He's
Yes,
awesome.
I know
Okay,
who he is.
well then, dude, maybe I should show you the clip instead of
Yeah.
just explaining.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's play it.
so okay, I think I can play this clip, so you can hear it, and then we'll just pipe it in here. Hang on.
Cool.
But this clip has to do with this idea of being special.
Okay.
People want to be special. If you just come to terms to simply be ordinary as you are, in a way, you've already taken a huge spiritual step. That you have come to terms with the nature of your creation. This itself
Wow.
is a huge step. This is not about saying, okay, all my freaky nature is fine. That's not it. That you're just ordinary. You're not trying to be special. Being special means you're trying to be one up on somebody all the time, which has been
Ah,
taught to you from kindergarten. Are you first or second what? From day one. Nonsense. See, when you want to be number one, which is a most special place that people are looking for, what it means is you somewhere enjoy other people's inabilities and sufferings.
huh.
It's not about you blossoming into your full-fledged life. It is about being one up on somebody all the time. But this is not the nature of life. This
Yeah.
is the nature of a poor intellect, a very poor
Wow.
intellect, which desperately wants to prove it is special.
Okay,
Mm,
so this is
Jesus.
yeah, he goes in on that one, right? But here's my thing. Here's my thing. I think this is a very very fascinating conversation to have.
Okay.
He's not saying that being special is the wrong thing, the poor
Right.
intellect. What he's saying is the value judgment of hierarchy, of being the best. Like
Yes.
that association with specialness
Mhm.
is the problem. And I agree. That's what Jason says. And what you're saying, what I'm saying, I think is more aligned with what Sadhguru is saying as well, which is it's the ordinary quality of you and like
Yes.
being special. If you think about that word, literally look at the way it's spelled. It has the word like
Mhm.
species in it. And to me, to be a human is to be special. Because
Yeah.
when you're being an ordinary human, your own representation, your own expression of what that means to be a
Right.
human, which is ordinary to you, but to other people is like, whoa, this guy's a genius or whatever. You're being
Yeah.
special. you are special in that sense because you're representative of one singular potential of a human life. And that
I
one
agree.
singular potential is actually extraordinary when it's expressed. So like what you're saying, dude, and like what we're talking about with this mindfulness thing is
Yeah.
all we're doing is we're tapping into the story that's beneath the story that we think that we're supposed to be playing out based on what everyone else says.
I
Like
agree.
if you're looking at advertising and the internet and all this, you might see a lot of people like drinking a bunch of alcohol and partying and doing all these things, and
Yeah.
reality TV is like glorifying being mean
It's
to
so
each other.
true.
Like, and here we
It's
are
so true.
trying to like just figure it out and like, why do I feel so bad? It's like, well, because you're not you're not looking here, you're not looking
No,
inward to see
no.
the ordinary real form of you that is trying to get out.
Yes, but bro, it makes so much sense. Like we spend the majority of our time on Instagram looking at people who are literally doing it for the gram. Like, what the hell
Yeah,
is that about? Like, get out of
yeah,
here, man.
yeah,
Come on,
dude.
I don't want to see your rented plane that you didn't even leave off the airway with. They let you climb on there just because you sat outside for 12 hours so you could pose in front of this. Like, get the
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that shit.
Nah.
So I guess more on this like New Year's resolution crap because we've been on this, right? And again,
Yeah.
I just want to say this. I'm not saying that having goals is bad because they are not. You will never achieve anything without having some set goals for yourself. So there's that.
Mm.
What
Mhm.
I take offense to is this New Year's resolution thing because you're, again, what are you doing? What are you doing with yourself that you're waiting until the new year changes in order for you to have resolutions about you wanting to change?
Yeah.
It like the idea of it doesn't like really make sense to me.
Nah.
And if that's the case, if you want to have a New Year's resolution, it doesn't necessarily have to be a new year.
No.
Could it possibly be a new month? Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I mean, but like, why even deal in the ways of the calendar and time?
Yes.
We
Right.
already know time is a construct that we've created as a
Yes.
society so that we can work together in an
Hmm.
interconnected fashion. But it's also relative, like my time right now is different from your time. You have
Yeah.
associations with, 7:45 and I have associations with 5:45 and we're experiencing them
Right.
simultaneously. So
Yeah.
we can choose to see a
Yes.
new year every single day, every single moment, in
Agreed.
fact. Like, I genuinely believe that, we're always able to reset and change and shift perspective, and things take time to flesh
Yes.
out, but
Yes.
that shifting of perspective happens in a moment, and,
It's
like,
yeah.
it's a new recognition that it literally happens at any time because,
Yeah.
okay, so I was listening to this video. I don't remember the title, but the guy was talking about this state of mind
Mhm.
where you're always beginning. And
Okay.
this is commonly seen as like the way of the masters, like the true sages and masters and like Miyagi types. They
Okay.
are akin to the student
Wait, are
because
we talking Mr. Miyagi from, like,
Mr.
Karate
Miyagi,
Kid?
yeah. Karate Kid, dude, yeah. We're talking old school the original Karate Kid. Mr. Miyagi. This is
Okay,
imagine
okay.
yeah, imagine Mr. Miyagi. This guy,
Okay.
everything that he tried to teach, I don't remember the kid's name, but the
Yeah.
Karate Kid, whatever he's trying to teach him, it seemed preposterous to the kid because he's like, this isn't advanced fighting and stuff. Well, it's because he was teaching him fundamentals that like when
Mm.
you repeat an action over and over again, that's how you actually learn it. So then once
Yes.
he recognized that, he could move forward and actually learn how to kick ass. So with us, like think about like, doing anything, but like playing golf is one that resonated with me. I heard this
Okay.
example and I used to play golf growing up. My dad was into it and we played all the time. And I always kind of kicked myself because
Mhm.
you play 18 holes in a full day. And like, if you're sucking, it feels like you're sucking because the last hole, it lost 3 balls and took 12
Yes.
strokes to get to the hole.
Been
And then
there.
yeah, but then sometimes, dude, you like get lucky or you actually make a good stroke and you're like, oh,
Yes.
this is it. And that's why you play golf. But no, the whole idea here is if you're imagining a game of golf and you're imagining every swing is a starting point, you're always winning the game of golf. Like you
Yeah.
don't keep track of
Okay.
shit. You say every swing is a new swing. And therefore there's
Mm.
nothing to actually judge yourself against. So if you can
Okay,
get
that makes
there,
sense.
if you can just say the point of this is this, rather than the point of this is to judge myself based on past experience or the val or the like the parameters of what success is in the future, you can achieve this state of mind where, like this podcast, for example, this episode, we can basically pretend that this is our very first episode, and we can
Okay.
just
We can.
approach it in that way. Just so I think it's what you're saying. I think it's exactly what you're saying, which is like our version of time, our version of a year, and our version of what a resolution might be could be something different. That's it.
Okay.
It could just be different. And
Yes.
if we really dwell on it for ourselves, each of us individually, I think we can understand, what's reasonable. Like, can we get there? Can we get to that point where it's every swing is new? Or is it like, every 5 swings, you're like, okay, I can reset here. I can reset here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's the point of existence to some degree,
I
is to be able
I
to get
do.
there.
I do think it. I think, but we have to. I believe some part of us. It's a whole thing of change, Mike. Like it's the whole idea of being better, doing better, and kind of releasing the things that you went through that may have caused trauma.
Mm,
It's about reinventing the person you are, not just once, but like 1,000 times over until you look in the mirror and you get to the person that you want to be. So it's that swing. If you
mm,
want to get better at something in sports, you do it 1,000
mm.
times. And but think about if I was an athlete, I mean, I'm kind of
Yeah.
athletic.
What are you talking about?
Okay, and if I sucked at I don't know, free throws like Shaq was freaking horrible at free
Yeah.
throws, right?
Yeah.
And my man went up there and like took 10 free throws, but he was always thinking about the first free throw and how he didn't hit the basket at all. Like he'd
Mhm.
never be able to get to initially like getting closer to free. Now, don't get me wrong, he was still
True.
terrible, but he did hit a few. But I'm sure
Yeah.
he wasn't thinking about the last free throw he shot in order to make the one that he made. So
Mm.
I think that's what we have to remember. Like you said, you always get a chance. You always get another chance.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess what you're making me think of now is like when
Yeah.
you're taking those free throws, if you don't change anything about yourself, you're not necessarily going to see a change or a development in
Right.
your growth as a free throw shooter,
Yes.
like, or with the golf or whatever it is. And that is a really good point, is that
Yeah.
you can view yourself as a beginner at all times, beginner mind, but
Hmm.
a part of that is like beginners are constantly changing themselves. Like
Yeah.
they're
It's true.
constantly learning. So, you got to be able to take both and I wonder, do you think that's, is that hard for you to do? Like to, to be open to changing yourself, like at all times, or does it come naturally to you?
I think I'm open to learning all the time, and
Mm,
especially like I'd say my opportunity was when it comes to like actually physically sitting down and learning something new, like out of a book. That's a little bit more
mm,
complicated for me. It takes more effort. That's the reason why it's more complicated because it takes more effort. But
yeah.
if there was someone who were teaching me something, or just explaining something to me that maybe I wasn't familiar with or I ever think about, I'm game. Because I'm like, wait, is this a different perspective? Like, could I see things differently?
Mm,
There's always the possibility that there's going to be a small shift in me from just a conversation with a stranger to
yeah.
change the person that I am to go back to that person. I love the
Mm,
odds of that. Give me the fucking dice
yeah.
every day. You know what I
Dude,
mean?
me too. I don't know what
Yeah.
that is, man. There's like some strange power to that particular
Yeah.
thing that's
Yeah.
different from like learning on your own. It's
Right.
like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like the
Things are just
validation.
better. They're just
Yeah,
better when we get to do them together, man.
yeah, I agree. I think
Yeah.
so. Actually, it's kind of funny. I was in a like a networking. It was like a quick networking thing, like a 30-minute session. Like
Okay.
you go into these like little groups.
Breakout.
Yeah, and you talk to people like 4 minutes. Everyone gets 60 seconds to like say their piece. And I wasn't
Okay.
really there selling anything. Like these groups sometimes can have people in there who are just like, I'm a financial wealth advisor. Like, please hire me. Please hire me. Or like, I'm selling Mary Kay. Like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
You're doing your thing. You're hustling. I was just there to like hang out and see what it was like. And honestly, bro, it's
Okay.
kind of fun. You're like getting
Was
forced to
it?
talk to strangers. Yeah.
So should I
And like,
find one and go to it?
dude, you should. And actually, I showed up and they were like, yo, you look like you have a podcast. And I was like, oh, wait for my 60 seconds. And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm a creative director. I've been working in the government or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. But I also have a production company and a podcast.
Yeah.
And we love talking to strangers. So this is great. And they're all just
Yeah.
like, oh, cool. But I actually did think of you because, yeah, we have that in common. Obviously, it's like,
Right.
there's some weird thing, like especially with strangers in particular, where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
there's a different way of seeing there, and that's valuable and cool.
Yeah. I think I I love it. I think we can pick up perspective from anyone. That's what makes us unique. So that with that being said though, there's a thing that I did recently where I was at dinner with two of my friends and I
Mm.
asked them about something we talked about last episode. If you remember the thing about like the notes to yourself, right?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
have a couple of responses I'm gonna send you right
Ooh,
now that I want you to listen to and kind
oh
of tell
sweet.
me what you think about them. So
All
let me
right,
pull them up here.
I got the clip. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, I'm gonna play it over the mic, and
Hey, Steph, I'm definitely recording your conversation because I forgot that I had to tell Mike. Mike made me promise that I would record one conversation. I just remembered that I'm supposed to do this.
hell yeah.
So, if you're okay, can you please tell me what you would go back, what advice you would give 25-year-old Steph? And she's 25 now, so it's kind of like the same, but just saying that for the record. Please. Yes.
Miss you, Mike.
Aw, miss you too.
Oh, she's under pressure now.
She had to know what's coming
him.
I just remembered.
Dang it.
He probably did. It was in his pocket.
He got out easy. Not
Drink less, eat healthier.
I've always been pretty conscious.
I'm putting you on the spot.
I know, like,
I am.
well, and I wouldn't be taking this long if it wasn't recorded. Gosh darn.
Look. I feel like for me, I've been pretty responsible most of my life, but I struggled to become a grown-up. I've always wanted to stay a kid for a long time.
Okay.
So like, I would try to just be more responsible at a younger age because you see a lot of benefits. Like I was saying earlier, save more money, invest in something, and save money. Don't just earn money and then spend it on things you want when you're 25, even though it's easy to do. And like there's a lot of things you want, I'm sure, at that age, but you gotta think long term. That was my problem. I was very I'm short term.
Okay.
I'm always thinking short term. I don't think long term ever. And when I met Stephanie, that helped me a lot. And she thinks a lot of long term. So that made me start changing my ways and the way I think. I think a lot of long term now. Like what am I gonna do with this money? Like how can I stretch this out, or what can I do with it? That's what I would tell myself that long ago.
Okay, I get
Be a little bit more responsible. Think about the future more and less about the now, because that's how I live my life. Now, instant gratification. But I would say think a little bit further ahead in what you want to do in the future. How you want to be, who you want to be, who you know, what you do, that kind of stuff.
Thought about that too. Yeah. 25-year-old. You're giving this.
And it's funny that he says that I helped teach him some of that, which I'm proud of. And I do think in some ways I have always been very like monetarily, yes, I look to the future, but I think my answer is like, actually I was more careless with relationships, like not thinking about the long term. And so like friends that I should have made sure to keep closer, I just was a little more flippant with like when I moved to Reno from California, I feel so lucky that some of those friends that all came to my 40th birthday, like I kind of dropped off the face of the planet for a little bit with them because I moved to Reno and I have this whole new life and I was not good at keeping in touch. And now I'm like, gosh, I hope they know that they're important to me, and I regret that time that I was careless about that. Oh my God, I'm getting emotional. Because people are just so important. And I think about work too, like I didn't know I'd be at the same place of business for whatever I'm at, 17 years. And people that maybe I spoke a little more carelessly with, now I'm like, please know that I've grown since then. I wouldn't speak to you that way. I wouldn't take those opinions or take those, you know what I mean? And like, I was very opinionated and I was very careless with words, and you can't take those words back. And not everybody's gonna have the understanding that like I feel like a completely, entirely different person than I was at 25. The way that I would speak to somebody, the things I would recognize in you, the respect I would give you, like I'm a different person. And if you've had a negative experience with me because I was 25 and brash, you're not gonna you're not going to want to believe that I'm different because I did that to you, and I'll own that. But you're not going to want to believe that I'm different because I don't think everybody has the same recognition that people can change and grow and really truly believe that that was like a mistake or that was something I shouldn't have said. And I've really grown a lot in that way.
So
Oh my God, I have big emotion.
So in summary, Gabe, one sentence to wrap it up. What would you tell yourself? Now this could change your 25-year-old self. What would it be? One sentence, summarize. Think long term, be more responsible with your money, and keep your family close. I like that. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Steph?
You can never take back words or the way that you make people feel, and you will grow and change and wish that you did not say things, so take them all seriously.
Wow. That was really good, guys.
Sorry, I thought it was a good idea.
In some ways, I do think that has helped.
Dude, that was lovely, man. That was really, really cool to hear. And actually, I really enjoyed like hearing the din of where you guys were hanging out and everything. Like, I felt like I was there. Man, I'm so grateful that they were willing to share, dude.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
The idea that people cannot change, like that, she brought that up, and that is a really real thing. Like,
I
people
agree.
genuinely believe that other people cannot and don't change. And I am very confused by that belief, because from what I can tell, every single person that I have ever known, that I have any memory of, has changed in some way. So like,
Yeah.
where does that come from? And why do we assume that about other people?
I don't know, man. Like, in full transparency here, like, I know that, and I kind of like what Steph said hit home, right? It's like, be
Mm,
careful with the words that you say. I think
yeah.
I was very much the same when I was younger. Like, I
Mm,
just didn't give a damn, man. Like, somebody offended me, or if I felt a certain way, like, I feel like I was very loose with my words, and I
yeah.
didn't often consider the fact that they could hurt somebody, and also that they could have lasting effects, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I know I remember like a few times vividly of when I said things to like some of my like long-term friends that I'm sure hurt them because they like brought it up like years later.
Yeah.
And all I can say is like those are things that I wish I could take back, that I knew altered like our relationship, that I could never take back.
Mm,
Like, it that is such a lesson, hard lesson learned for me,
yeah.
and I try to be more careful now. I find myself maybe walking away before I say something that I'll regret.
Yeah, it is pretty intense how people's choice of words and language has
Mhm.
such substantial power
Yeah.
um over other people. I mean, there's something to be said for the idea that the words we choose, I mean, they are filled with energy. What we're
Mhm.
saying right now, how we're saying it, has
Yeah.
a certain effect one way or the other. And focusing on that and recognizing that, kindness and all of that is super important, is a big deal. And you know what? I've had those experiences as well. And I
Mhm.
wonder if like this is a pretty universal experience for
Yeah.
other people, is that like at some point or another, we've all said something that made someone else hurt. Like
Yeah.
we've said it for like whether flippant or otherwise, like, or with intent. And I actually think that in a way that happens because we are speaking in the same way to ourselves. Like when we're saying
Ah,
that, we're really like putting that judgment out because we're pushing it away from from how we feel about ourselves in some form or fashion. Um, Even if it's flippant, actually, maybe even more so when it is. And
yeah.
yeah, I think those are some wise words. I think they're wise words for looking back and recognizing things. And I also have this thought on this that's a little bit different.
Okay.
um, because we all affect each other, and
Mhm.
because we're all like special in our own way, and we have our own sense of ordinary,
Yeah.
and like we have our own languages. I mean, like truly, you and I, like, we know each other's languages really well. We speak the
Right.
same English, but like the way that we use our words and the associations that we have and all these things, like they're different. We learn these things together as we interact. But
It's true.
when we don't know those, or we're not paying as much attention to those for other people, and we say something that's flippant that maybe we didn't even intend to hurt them, and it does. I also think on the other side of it, like having been hurt myself and thinking
Okay.
about it in hindsight, like I kind of needed to be hurt by that, because I needed to realize like, whoa, that affected me. Why did that affect me? And like, you know, like they say like sticks and stones or whatever, but I think there's something there. I think even when we are flippant, even when we have regrettable actions, like
Okay.
there's some productive thing happening. Like it's like again, it's like the tree in the storm. Like sometimes it's gonna suck, you're gonna get bullied, but like how are we intaking that, and how are we
Yeah.
perceiving that as well? And I think
Yeah.
both sides, it's just grace, like you said at the end of the last
Yeah.
episode. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, as much as we can regret, I do think there's still space for that, because the way that everything works together is profoundly more mysterious than
I agree.
I or anyone else could truly understand. But that's a weird, it's a weird angle, because it's almost like saying like, yeah, just say whatever you want. Like whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
people will figure it out. No, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's a great point, man. And I think it's a perfect place to end here. And I think I'm gonna ask you a question, and then
Yep.
I'm gonna answer this question to wrap this one up.
All
What have you done this week to give yourself some grace?
I have allowed myself to be flexible in my own practices, the things that I'm
Mhm.
looking to do to change. And that's different from how I've approached things before. So,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
I give myself the grace needed in a life that's constantly shifting and changing. And if my plans for a day don't, you know, this past week didn't necessarily pan out, I didn't do something, I'm not holding that against myself. I'm saying
Uh,
like I set that intent and have these actions that I'm
yeah.
looking to work towards making consistent. But it's a process. So that's the
Yeah.
grace that I'm giving myself, is like consistency in and of itself is a process of becoming, and at some point I'll get there. So that's
Yeah.
been mine, dude. What about you?
For me, I'm allowing myself to see the things that maybe I've hidden before that are not so great about me. And I'm
Mm.
facing those head on because I want to be a better person overall for
You
everything.
that's a tough one, dude. That's a
It
tough one.
is. And it hurts like hell sometimes, but
Yeah.
I want to be better. So that's what I have to do.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it, dude. Well, whoever's listening, thank you for
Yeah.
listening. And we hope that in some meaningful way, you're giving yourself grace. And
Absolutely.
we're looking forward to catching you on the next one. I'm Mike.
Yeah. I'm Mike. This is the Not Known Podcast. Until next week.
Bye.
Peace. I'm so stoked.